Batman Fortress issue 1, Gary Whitta, writing with Derek Robertson on the art. The basic gist of this is that there's a blackout. It's already started, right? So the issue starts and it's just, Gotham's already in darkness, and it starts off being introduced in the context with some thieves who are breaking into Wayne Manor. It's like, hey, all of his security is going to be down. Let's go in and steal some shit. And of course, Alfred and Bruce take care of them. It's actually more Alfred than Bruce, to be honest. Alfred, takes one of them down. And it's like, okay, all right, okay. And then from there, it's like, okay, this isn't just Gotham. The entire world is blacking out, right? All the major cities are going down. Something's doing this to the planet. And Bruce is going to go and investigate it. And, the issue is like him going to see Gordon, who's got a bunch of batteries rigged up to the bat signal so they could turn the bat signal on. A bunch of car batteries, that is. So, some fun premise stuff here. I will say this, though. I kind of hated this issue more as it went on. And it comes down to a couple of key, somewhat related things in the dialogue and the narration. So, first thing, the easiest one to talk about is the very awkward pop culture references that started to really annoy me. There's one early on that's not too bad, but it felt a bit forced where, like, Gordon says this is... He doesn't say The Purge, but that's what he's talking about. He says, it's a bit like that movie where all crime is legal for one night. And then Batman turns around and says, wait, that's a movie? And he's like, yeah, you don't get out much with that cape, do you? And I'm like, that felt really awkward and clunky. And it wasn't like things felt too off before that, but that just really stuck out as feeling, So I didn't like that. But then it got worse later. So because Arkham's also lost power, like everyone's out. So there's like a couple of quick things that happen. There's a scene where Joker's like kidnapped like a school bus, so he's riding the school bus, and that's fine, whatever. It's not a Joker story. He's just here for like one scene of like there's chaos happening because all the Arkham villains are out. But he turns round, and I actually didn't mind him making the reference itself because he turns round and says, "School's out forever," and I was like, "Oh, you know what? Okay, that's a reference, but I'll buy Joker making that reference. It kind of fits in context that he's referencing that song." But then like it keeps going. Like he says, wait, no Alice Cooper fans here? Kids today and their music taste or something to that effect. And I'm like, well, no, you've overdone it now. Like you're actually pointing out that Joker cares about Alice Cooper and that he's mad that the kids don't like Alice Cooper. It's too like Joker doesn't care about music. Like this is too humanizing.
I don't know actually. I'm not saying that he cares, but the way you've just described that, it sounds a lot like Hamill's Joker. It is. Okay. Where he would say a joke and then be like, oh, really? Come on. He'd kind of be disappointed that people aren't laughing along with him afterwards. Admittedly,
maybe it's because they'd already dropped a pop culture reference or two, that at this point I was really like noticing this.
Yeah, maybe it's the pop culture angle to it that's bothering you, but the idea of Joker, again, it's not that he's caring that they don't know Alice Cooper, it's more that they're not laughing along with him. That's very much kind of straight out of Hamill's Joker stuff.
Yeah, so the pop culture references were bugging me, and there's some other things as well. Like at one point, there's like some looting going on, and they've got a box that says UHD TV on it, which is fine. But then Batman references the fact that one of the things people want in life is bigger TVs and stuff, and I was like, it felt like the book really wants to try and reference a lot of things and just reference like the real world or reference pop culture. There's a lot of that going on. And then the other thing, and this bugged me even more perhaps, is Batman's characterization feeling a little off, and also, well, maybe feeling off is a bit not the right way of saying this on. It's more that Weta seems to want to like include a lot of like stuff that relates to who Batman is, but he's like including too much of it in one issue. So there's like a moment where the Joker, for example, like after he's like saved the kids from the school bus, and Joker's like falling off the side of the bridge, and Batman obviously eventually like fires his grapple down and leaves Joker dangling because he's not going to let him die. But there's a whole internal monologue where the narration where Batman's saying, I know Joker can't swim because I can I still see him in that vat of chemicals that night he was created, and I still wonder if I should have let him drown. And just before like he fires the grapple, he says, "One day, clown, but not today." So characterization's a bit off there because like I don't know, I'm kind of over like I don't mind necessarily Batman like being attempted early in his career, and it definitely makes it feel like it's an early-ish Batman setting because he's having these thoughts. But there's even like a moment where there's like some criminals that have killed a couple in Crime Alley, and Batman comes in, takes care of them, and he says, "I don't usually come to this part of the city. The memories are too real. Like, and things like." I'm just like, why is there so much of this in this? Like, so much of like Batman talking about why he kills or doesn't kill people, or well, not that he does or doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't kill people. Batman talking about his internal debate of just killing the Joker as if it's like a ever-present thing. When he goes past the people looting, he's talking about why I'm not going to like save like these big companies and they've got insurance. This is not why I dress up as a bat. And then he saves someone who's getting attacked. He's like, this is why I dress up like a bat. Like I feel like he's hitting, like, it's like he's one. It feels the need. It's almost like it's the first Batman movie that's not got an origin. So he's intentionally putting in all these little things to try and like explain who Batman is as he's going.
Everyone knows who Batman is,
and address like all of like the internal things and it really started to annoy me. The more it happened, the more I was like, why are all these little things in here? Like, I know who Batman is. You don't have to go through all of this.
Yeah, I wonder if that's only like going to be a problem in the first issue.
Maybe
like he's got that all out of the system now, so we can just relax. Maybe not.
I don't know. Like, he stops Penguin at one point. That's right before the Joker scene. Because one of the things early on that he says is like to Alfred is like, what about the Boy Scout? Have we heard from him? And I was like, okay, that makes me feel like early days, right? And he calls him Clark later, so it's whatever. And it's like, okay, so there's some maybe alien ship or something that's done this to the world, and it's probably hostile. But that is definitely a very angry Batman. Because at the end, when there's like, okay, there's something up above in the atmosphere that's causing this blackout, and only one satellite that's a little bit further from Earth is actually still operating. Or at least one of Wayne's satellites, that is. He says, well, like, we can't wait for Clark to show up if he's not answering. It's kind of weird. If he contacted, because he says if he contacted the rest of the league, and it's like, yeah, they're waiting at the headquarters, so presumably that's where we're going to start issue 2. But he says, Alfred asks, are we declaring war? And Bruce says, they declared war when they shut down our planet. Now we hit back hard, and that's what the issue ends on. And well, I don't get me wrong. I think it's reasonable to suspect that this is hostile and that this is like maybe a preemptive thing before something else. I get why he's thinking that. I don't know. Something just felt a little too one note and aggressive, I guess, from Batman. So some of it's just like, it feels like it's trying to reiterate every internal like thing Batman had to go through in his early days, all sort of hitting in the narration, mixed with a couple of times of feeling a little bit off character because of that, and then add in the awkward pop culture references. By the end, I was having a lot of problems with dialogue and narration. I think the premise is fine, and there's some good art from Robertson, I think, sprinkled in here for sure. And it's like every bit of every page, like there's definitely some facial expressions that look a bit weird to me, or Bruce, especially towards the end, there's like one page where he's looking down at the computer monitors and I think his face looks a bit odd. But by and large, when he's in the cowl, the silhouette of the Batman looks really good, and stuff like the school bus going off over the side of the bridge looks really nice and detailed, and pops quite nicely. So there's a lot of nice art in here as well. But I have to say, I really started to get annoyed by a lot of things in the book, and by the end it left me feeling very mixed, I would say.
That's a shame.
So my disappointment of you not reading this is to see if this is just me, or if you were going to feel the same things.
I suspect I would agree with a lot of those problems that you've pointed out. Things like the over, I'm pretty annoyed by a lot of over narration in a lot of comics anyway. I complain about that a lot, and especially with it being like recurring problems, like the ones you're referring to. Like it's hitting the same beats kind of repeatedly. Yeah, I suspect I would probably be annoyed by those as well.
Yeah, and there's another one when he's leaving Garden. Like, just as he's leaving, there's like a page of he's jumping off the roof, and like, and again implying it's an early days Bat story, because he asked Jim if he's okay, and he says, yeah, I'm fine, because he talks about popping pills for his blood pressure, and he's like, you're the only person that's asked me that, and Batman says, what are friends for? And Gordon goes, "Is that what we are?" And as Batman jumps off the roof, he goes, "Well, as close as it gets when one of us is wearing a mask." And I'm like, I thought that was really cheesy. I wasn't really feeling that.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's the other thing. There's like a reference to, not necessarily a direct, like, this is in the same universe kind of thing, but there's kind of a reference to Batman Begins here. Because Gordon says thanks, and Batman says, "I told you you never had to tell me that, or say that to me." I was like, oh, that's a Begins reference. That's I never got a chance to thank you. You'll never have to. And then it's referenced in Dark Knight when he says, "Yes, I do."
Yeah.
But and I
think it's more just a reference than anything. Yeah.
But it was right after the Purge thing, so it was like, I don't know. It felt like there was too many things being referenced constantly. I don't know.
That's fair. And for me, I'm not a huge Robertson fan either. Like, I can stand it, but I don't usually like his art very much. It borders on dislike at times.
I think his regular faces are a little bit wonky at times. I do think that when it's in the cowl, when he's doing sort of action, it's all right, even good.
He does. He's great drawing, like, big beefcake figures, right? That's kind of what his strength is, and it's fine, but it's not really an art style that appeals to me. And it's his faces in general. But from what I remember, he has a weird thing with mouths. They always look really small on the face.
Yeah, there's definitely some Bruce mouth in this where it feels like it's not wide enough. It feels like he's got like his little rat mouth.
Yeah, he has that in a lot of his stuff where it always feels like the facial features are all squashed in. They're too small for the face that they're actually on.
So yeah, I'm going to probably, maybe harsh, but I'm going to lump this with a 5.5.
It does sound quite harsh, actually, but
I was really annoyed by the end of the issue. Like it was like the first time I was like, I didn't like that, but whatever, moving on, no big deal. It's because the writing seemed fine before that for the first few pages, and then
it just kept coming back. It just often enough to keep reminding you that it's still being annoying.
It got to the point where every couple of pages it was doing something that took me out of it and annoyed me. So by the end, I was like, even though I'm fine with the premise and I like generally what the story's doing, I actually am kind of annoyed by the writing.